Marlene Duga to lead us in an opening prayer.
Good morning. Let's bow our heads. Father, we are so grateful and so thankful for this gift today. We thank you for life, we thank you for opportunities, and we thank you for the power of your presence. Father, as our nation, our local communities are in a season of transition, and we're on the upcoming elections, Father, we just pray your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Father, we ask that you would bless every candidate. We ask that you would bless our community. And Father, we thank you in this season and this time that you will stir people to know that our vote matters and our voice matters. So we thank you for the power of voice. We thank you for this event today. We ask, we invite your presence in. Holy Spirit, we say you are welcome. We thank you. We ask you to speak through every person today as they unveil their hearts to the people of their community with integrity, with honesty, and one word, being authentic and true. We say thank you again. And if you believe that, say thank you. Thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Now, I'd like to get a little housekeeping out of the way. When you enter, we have people to enter through the double doors, and if you need a bathroom, you exit there and go around to the right. Everybody, if you don't mind, turn your cell phones off, or at least put them on silent. And there will be time for the audience to ask questions towards the end. So at this time, I'd like to call up our moderator, John Milton. He is an attorney here in this area. He didn't give me anything to talk about, but I figure everybody knows John, and I've been knowing him for a very long time. He's the pastor, the bishop of Imani Temple 49, and at this time, I'll ask John Milton to come up and lead this forum.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And I want to thank Ms. Susanna Malbrook and this great organization of WOW, Women of Wisdom, for organizing a candidate forum for us today, so that all of those who are present and those who are watching via AOC or other formats may get to know our candidates much better. I want to say that before we begin, that knowing all of you, the candidates, I want to say to our public that we can't lose. We can make the best choice for the office, but all of these men are great citizens and great leaders and great professionals in their area. So today, hopefully we will learn something about them that we did not know that might impact our decision on how it is that we should vote. And again, thank you for allowing me to moderate this session. At this time, we want to begin by allowing each of the candidates to introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with my far left, stage right, with Mr. Tron, and then Mr. Judice, and Mr. Thomas, Mr. Broussard, and then Judge Edwards. So I believe that our setup is that when we come to the mic, our time limit is a 2-minute introduction. Please take this opportunity to let our people know what you think they need to know most about you in only 2 minutes. Yes. And we do it. Our timekeeper is sitting right in front of me, who will help you stay on task. Thank you, Mr.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, thanks for having us here today to discuss our platform. My name is John Tremaine Jr. I'm candidate for Lafayette City Marshal, and I'm ready for you guys. I'm a lifelong resident of Lafayette. have since retired. Had an opportunity to be trained. Going through the academy class, I was the vice president of my cadet academy class, and I was trained by the best of the best. While being trained by the best of the best, I noticed that because I had the opportunity to continue my training, and while with Louisiana State Police, I trained abroad. I trained for the Council of Intelligence in El Paso, Texas. I also trained for the Drug and Addiction System Program out of Washington, D.C. That gave me national recognition as instructor and also officer of the year. Compelled with my desire to be a public servant, I continued my path and I brought that training back and was also allowed and afforded opportunity with God's grace to be an instructor for the Louisiana District Attorney Association, where I trained and taught local officers and agencies different diverse type training as relates to patrol and as relates to our community. Continue my efforts. I continue to move through Louisiana State Police, retired this year as a sergeant. Not just serving the people of Lafayette, which I born and raised in. I served the entire community of the state. I was deployed on many specialized tasks, to name a few. 9/11. I was sent to New Orleans in 9/11 after the first Super Bowl. After 9/11, I worked on security task detail for the Republican Democratic Convention and the conventions up in New Orleans. I also thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Is the mic on?
It's on, this has bad audio.
So when I ask our candidates to speak closer to the mic, I apologize. I think you were a little low. Get a little bit closer to the mic. And also to my audience, I apologize. I want to make sure everybody knows, my group everybody does know, that our four candidates, my far left, are all running for the position of city marshal, city marshal, city of Lafayette, and Judge Evans is running for the position of city judge. There is one other candidate in the race, and Ms. Ordonez, who is the opponent. I understand she had a problem, so to apologize, she cannot be here with us today.
Mr. Milton, thank you so much, and ladies and gentlemen that are here today, thank you for taking your time this morning to come out and learn a little bit about this race. It's been a very challenging time for all of us to be able to stand in front of people and spread our message in any type of a group with COVID issues and all the other things going on in this country. My name is Kip Gies, and I'm running for city marshal in Lafayette. I am a 35-year veteran, 30 of those years with the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, and the last 5 as the police chief in the town of Tucson. I do think I bring some unique things to this forum in that many of the candidates here today, all are going to talk about, hopefully we're going to learn about where they want to take the marshal's office. The things I want to do at the marshal's office are proven, and they're proven because I've done them as a police chief at Tucson. I want to provide some text alerts to remind people who are due in city court that their court dates are coming up. I want to let people get an opportunity to get there. I also want to petition the judges to please consider, as opposed to issuing bench warrants for people who fail to show, offer an instancer that I would allow the marshal to come and get you, and if you have committed the violation of contempt, you would then be required to do some type of community service as a void, instead of incarceration. I don't think that people that commit misdemeanors and traffic offenses ought to be incarcerated. I want to talk about some transparency. I want to put every one of our expenses out on an open checkbook so that if you want to know where your city marshal money is going, it's there. You don't have to call my office. You don't have to make a public record request. Just get online and look. I want to institute police training. I want to make sure that we are identifying people with mental illness and we're able to work through some crises that they may be having. Again, I don't just talk this. Look at my record at Tucson. We have done it there. We have done it very effectively and efficiently. So none of this would cost us any money. We would simply change our priorities and make sure we're doing these things properly. So again, I am Kip Gies. I am the only one candidate in the race for city marshal because I'm number 91. So please remember that when you vote on November the 3rd. I would respectfully ask each one of your votes. Thank you very much.
I would first like to thank everybody for coming out just to hear our message. It's very important to us. I'm Reggie Thomas. I'm married for 30 years to Lisa Thomas. I also have been with the Lafayette Police Department for the last 30 years. Through that time at the Lafayette Police Department, I started at the very bottom and I went all the way up to the top. I led the Lafayette Police Department for the last 4 years, 289 officers. One thing I think that is very important, that this is a position that we're all trying to get, which is a leadership position. So I will tell you that in most times when you apply for a leadership position, one of the biggest things that you should have led an agency of the size that you're applying for or more. I have led an agency for 289 people. My budget was $33 million. The budget that we have at the Marshal's office is $2 million. I also write grants. I have a bachelor's degree, and I also attended the FBI National Academy. The FBI National Academy, only 1% of police officers within the nation is selected to attend this academy. This is a leadership academy with some of the most prominent leaders throughout the nation. I have attended it, and I will bring that type of leadership to the Marshal's office. My ideas, I'm strictly a community guy. Anybody knows me, know that I work with the community. I started different communities as far as community relations committees and community walks. I have been here for the last 30 years working with this police department side by side with the city marshal's office. And I will take the city marshal's office to another level. I will get the city marshal's office back accredited, just as I got Lafayette Police accredited and re-accredited in 2 different times. So I ask for your vote, I ask for your support, and I'm Reggie, number 93. Thank you.
My name is Nathan Broussard. I'm running for Lafayette City Marshal. This is my first time speaking in front of anybody, so bear with me. Our community has some great people right here. And I'm very honored to be on the side of these 3 gentlemen. Right here, total on this stage, we have over 120 years of law enforcement experience. And I want y'all to get them all in here. This is a lot of sacrifice and training and stuff that these officers have done. I'm the only candidate right here with 20 years at the Lafayette Marshal's office. I'm the only candidate here with 3 years at the Attorney General's office. I'm the only candidate here that trained the officers at the Marshal's office. I was the only field training officer over there. I've been civil, I've been criminal. A lot of people don't even know what the Marshal's office is. The Marshal's office protects and serves and does everything court order for Lafayette City Court. But on top of that, we're here for the community. And that's what we need. As everyone knows, the Lafayette Marshal's office lost respect over one guy's decision. And I feel it's my calling, it's my passion to come out here and bring back the community and get them back to Lafayette City Marshal's office. And to do the right thing and to help people. And that's why I'm running for Lafayette City Marshal. And I ask for your vote, I ask for your family's vote, and I ask you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Yeah,
morning, everyone. I'm really pleased and honored to have this opportunity to speak with you. I want to particularly thank the Women of Wisdom for organizing this forum, and I want to congratulate each of you for coming out and meeting with the candidates. This is a pivotal election. It requires diligence, and you are exercising that diligence today to learn about the candidates. I am a state trial court judge. I'm seeking to become your next city trial court judge. I have been a trial court judge for 27 years. I have 30 years of experience in the military. I am uniquely qualified to begin the work in city court and with the knowledge of how to do the work in city court on the very first day. I have trained, I've educated judges because I have presented at the Louisiana Judicial College presentation. I have mentored judges. I've been on the board of governors for the Louisiana Judicial College. I was the president of District Judges Association. I was the chairperson of the Judiciary Commission. That's the organization that investigates whether complaints that judges have engaged in unethical conduct. Again, I have been very effective at getting folks who are on the road to perdition, off that long road, onto the road to contribution. My disappointment in the work that I'm doing now is by the time I see them in district court, they have already committed lots and lots of crime. They've cycled through city court, they cycled through district court in the misdemeanor track, and they cycled through the felony track. If I can work with these folks in the city court, the beginning, their entrance to the justice system, by definition, I'll have the opportunity to reduce the number of victims that are coming to play in the Lafayette city. And I need your help. I'm number 88, and I want your vote and your support and your prayer. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and begin with our first question. And I hope that all of you find the questions to be fair, but it's all about the offices that you seek. First question, and this time I'd like to start with Mr. Broussard going this way, and then Judge Mike, because the same question will apply both to the office of City Marshal and to the office of City Judge. What is your assessment of the City Court or City Marshal's office in its current state, and what enhancements do you intend to bring to the organization that you want to seek to lead? You may go anywhere. But you need a mic.
Can everyone hear me right here? Or would you like me to use the mic?
Use the mic.
Okay.
For AOC.
I feel the Lafayette Marshal's office is a good running machine right now. I think the magistrate, Mr. Mike Hill, is doing a wonderful job keeping the office running good. They do need to be improvements, and I feel that I have the experience to make it more efficient. I know every employee there. I've worked there, like I said, for 20 years. I know the faults. I know how to make it more efficient, not only for the people, but for the community. And I do feel that whatever budget the council gives us, I feel that we can work with it. I do know we will have some reduction in the budget, being with COVID-19, and we can work with it. And I know the right places, I know people's weaknesses, and I know their strengths. So I think I can make it more efficient, knowing all these people personally. Thank you.
My assessment is that the Lafayette City Marshal office is a good office. I think it used to be accredited. It is no longer accredited. That's something that I will get immediately back done. As I said earlier, I have accredited Lafayette Police Department in 3 different occasions. what accreditation is written directives. I believe that you have to have written directives and policies to run an office to begin with. Everywhere I go, people ask, what do the city marshals do? That's because they need more community relations. I am known as a community guy. I will continue to be a community guy, and I will get the word out what exactly they do because we'll be in that community doing that. So more community work, and the budget itself, I write grants, we will get more funds in, and we will do more things, and we will get the city marshal to a total nother level where it had never been before.
Getting my exercise today.
Most important lady in the room today, right? So yeah, I believe that my evaluation of that office is that it is a good office and that interim Marshal Hill is doing an outstanding job. My hat's off to the men and women who worked through this craziness from the previous marshal, the 26 deputy marshals, because I think that they've done their job well. We haven't heard any negatives about the job of the city marshal's office, so I'm impressed with the current staff. What I will do to enhance it is basically provide them with more specific training on the proper service of paperwork, on the proper process of evicting people, on the garnishments, all of the things that we are tasked with doing as primary duties of the marshal's office. So the execution of warrants and the evictions and all those things. So make sure that we have specific training for the task that we are chosen to do, or ordered to do by the city court judges. I will also increase communication in the community and with our judicial partners, because I think that even though I'm individually elected, separate from the judges, we must work together. Thank you.
Again, good morning. My assessment as well, this is Doug County, said the marshal office is a good running machine. However, I added a few to it and added a little more to it so it can run a little bit better, in my opinion. My opinion is that, and what I would do with the marshal's office is that I would bring education of the process. What does the marshal actually do? Because if you can help someone in a sticky situation, help them navigate the process of the court, then we can keep them out of the federal or state courts, as the judge just said. That's what I want to do. I want to bring transparency to the marshal's office. I want to make sure that everybody understands not just what the marshal does, but what we are capable of doing. We have to follow the orders from the judge. We have to do it. But however, it's not just following the orders. It's actually how you follow those orders, how you navigate and connect with the community. Again, I've worked with Louisiana State Police, but I've worked with the marshals. I've worked with the city police. I've worked with the sheriff's department. I worked with Dusar, and across the Lafayette and the United States. So I will bring fairness to the law enforcement, marshal office. Thank you.
That's another excellent question, and it reminds me of the importance of qualifications. I invite everyone to go to my website, Edwards for City Judge, go to the other candidates' website, compare what we say our qualifications are. Now, as to this particular question, Lafayette City Court has a storied reputation. Judge Alex Saloon has won numerous awards, and Judge Saloon, his son, and Judge Bouillon
with the political reform at the state and local level in the area of criminal justice and the ongoing forceful demand for policing reform, what do you believe you can bring to your office to meet the cry of the people in regards to those?
One of the things that I can bring is you look at police reform. I always talk about who's at the table. It's about who's at the table. I want to be at that table for police reform. Now, when we talk about police reform, we already have the 21st century policing, which was something that was Obama pushed forward. And that pretty much tells us the direction we should go in. And that direction is trust of the community. That direction is community policing. And that direction is training and technology. So we use what we have already and we base it off that. We get dollars in from writing grants. We look at training, specific training. What we want in police reform is the community involvement. Community means everything in reference to law enforcement. And we have to have the community, we have to have guidelines, and those guidelines are already in place. And you'll see a lot of agencies do not use those guidelines, and I will use those.
Policing reform and criminal justice reform are coming. I mean, it's very clear that the community demands more of us as a profession than what they're seeing. And respectfully so, I agree. The number one thing I would support is legislation out of Baton Rouge that would double the penalty for any police officer who commits a crime while under the color of law and utilize it such as what Officer Chauvin did in Minnesota. We would say he gets double the penalty. Double the penalty for the same crime because you're acting under the color of law. I would support that legislation. I would beg our legislators to put it forward. I would institute training for our officers, and I would institute communication with our students in our schools to understand what some of the officers are doing and why they're asking for someone to approach or someone to show their hands. Making sure that we're communicating well with the community of what's expected of us and what is expected of them, so that we can build a bridge and get this right. Thank you.
Good morning. We're here talking about reform. Change is inevitable. I've been in training and reform with Louisiana State Police. If you recall, back in the day, in the late 90s, it was DWB, let's say driving while black, or DWH, driving while Hispanic. I taught classes across the nation on that type of reform. I continue to teach those classes and excel, again, through my state police career. Again, coming back and teaching our locals exactly reform since the 90s. There's a systemic problem out here because, let's face it, I'm a black man in America, and I've been stopped before. But it's how I handle the situation. But I will make sure that my officers will be diversity trained, and we will seek all type of information from medical health professionals to get our people reformed on how to handle things in the office. Legislation will have to do that work. I'm an advocate for all that too, but it starts with me. And it started with me back in 1996, working in the interstate system. Thank you much.
Okay, so judges are not policymakers. Judges review the law, receive the evidence, determine what law applies to a particular dispute, apply the law to the fact, pronounce the result. That's what judges do. However, I have been involved in criminal justice reform for decades. I've regularly testified before the Louisiana legislature to provide them information about the impact of the legislation that they are considering. Clearly, I will continue to do that and also provide that same sort of information to the City Council when they are considering legislation. However, the principal challenge today is that we have divided ourselves into camps, us versus them. And I am aware of evidence-based programming that I can communicate to law enforcement executives that provides information and opportunities for adolescents to learn of what the police officer is thinking about at the encounter. Police officers, information about what the adolescent is thinking about, and therefore resolve the attention. Thank you very much.
I definitely agree with everyone on the stage, especially Judge Evans right here. We have laws, we have policies, but we need to put them into place, and it needs to happen. You can have all the policies and all the laws, and if you don't implement them and do the right thing, then it's not going to work. We have a community out there. Somewhere we lost where the community was. For an officer to get down and talk to the people, go help them, help a lady bring in the groceries. Simple thing like that, get to know people. I will have a ride-along program. I will have you come ride with police officers if you want. I will make it accessible. This is your marshal's office. It's not anyone on the state's office. It's the communities. And y'all need it back. Thank you.
Sorry, I got a little eager there.
In the new normal brought about by COVID-19, and considering our 6 months of experience with this pandemic affecting our community, what can the marshal's office or the city judge's office do different or better to meet the needs of those accessing the services of those offices? And do you have any plans on bringing certain changes to meet those special needs?
Mr. Milton, I think you said the 6 years of COVID-19, right? It does. So yes, I think that we would, I would certainly help with the judiciary if they were to order any type of Zoom hearings and any things that we would have to facilitate to make sure that witnesses were available, defendants, the attorneys, making sure the proper service was made to accommodate the judiciary for any technology that they would want to institute with regards to COVID-19. So to avoid crowded courtrooms and the obvious situations that would happen. From a standpoint of service, we have some limited requirements by way of statute that we have to personally serve a person for it to be binding for the judge to recognize a good service. So we would just do that very respectfully and use all the safeguards that are recommended by the CDC and the guidelines from our state officials. So that's kind of where I would go with that. Thank you for the question, Mr. Milton.
Thanks again. Good question. I'm in it to win. I'll let you know, guys. I've researched ways to make that court system a little bit better. We all have cell phones. Who in this house of audience does not have a cell phone? Mr. Judy says talk about that. I researched the website and it's also paid online. We have it. But Apple Pay. You have a phone, you don't want to come to court. There's kiosks that you can put away. You don't have to come to court to keep from the COVID situation. Those are the type of things. Bring technology to our office. Mention Zoom. Of course, it's Zoom. Mention those things and bring those things that we can to the office. That way we keep ourselves separated. I'm not opposed, but it has to be the judges. Tonight, they have like 4 different cities I'm working. That way you can live with people. It also helps working people if you're working at night. And again, notify. My wife's a principal. They Zoom call. They also do the remind text for kids at school. Wow, marshal system like that. Everyone forgets. We all make a mistake in our mind. Why not try to limit that? Thank you.
20 years at the Marshal's office, I don't think any type of law enforcement can be improved. We have a big challenge with COVID-19. We used to have 120 people arraignments on a Monday morning and 120 in the afternoon. Nobody told me this. I actually worked there. Now we can only have 30 people in the courtroom or 40 in the courtroom. So we do need that technology. It's not a secret. It needs to be done. Lafayette City Court is the only court that I know of in the state of Louisiana that you couldn't pay a ticket online until 2 or 3 months ago. That's true. Lafayette City Court is mandatory court for some of the tickets. That's true too. You have to go to court. You have to take off work. You have to have a babysitter. You have to pay the bar. And that's just as a that's just as a witness. The system needs to be changed. And I understand that. And we need to make it more accessible. This is service for you. This is service for the community. Thank you.
Of course, technology needs to be improved, of course, but it is as a leader of a large organization and working with LCG, I know the type of things you would have to do. With technology, you would have to it would have to be compatible with IT and with LCG. All this costs. So a lot of times we can say different things, what we will bring and how we will bring things, but we also have to look at the cost, and we have to look at, is it comparable? Is it something that we can actually accomplish? As far as court, we need more security in that court, and we will look at ways to get more security in the court. So we have to separate people down. We have to do a whole lot of things, but we have to look at CDC, and we have to make sure that we're doing everything we can to keep not only the citizens safe, but my employees safe and everyone within the court system safe. So my whole thing is to make sure everyone is safe and make sure the community is safe also.
Okay, back to qualifications. Again, I have a master's degree in public administration. That means I know how to analyze systems. I have a master's degree in strategic studies from the United States Army War College. That means I know how to lead people. Now, with regard to what we will do with the pandemic, it is, I think for sure, an easy thing is to do a number of videos explaining the various types of matters that could bring you to city court. So what happens with a civil case? What happens with a criminal case? What happens with a juvenile case? What happens with a misdemeanor offense? Right? So that people will be able to be prepared when they come to court to present their evidence. You can't imagine how many times I have seen people come to court for a protective order, and they have people without a lawyer, and they tell me, Judge, I didn't know I had to bring any witnesses. It's the trial day, right? I didn't know. I have witnesses I couldn't draw. We can tell them all about it.
Maybe we should have been 2 minutes. Moderator, I can make the adjustment. All hands. 2 minutes or 1.5? 2 minutes. Let's go with that. Yeah. Okay. Now this is a woman's group. I don't know. I've been invited to this group. Any of you? Wow. I have seen them impact the community. And I've seen them do some great things and be involved in a lot of great things. Now I want to ask a question that might concern them. With this Me Too movement, whatever office, whoever gets elected to these 2 offices will be supervising offices that have personnel, and we still seem to have strained relationships based on gender. And considering the death of our great Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg, yesterday, of gender equity will play any part in the administration of the office that you see as city marshal or as city court judge. Would you please offer your questions?
Great question. Again, I'm a husband, my beautiful wife, supportive. Support is all I can do for them. I have 2 daughters, supportive. Make sure that they have what they need. So I'm an advocate for making sure fairness, again, in law enforcement. That's not just fairness with the citizens, that's fairness with my staff. Lafayette City Marshals as a female, first female ever promoted to the rank of captain in Lafayette City Marshals in this day and age. State police have the same problems. Okay. However, we need, as a leader, I will change that. I'm talking fairness. Fairness for each and every one of our citizens. Not just the male, not just the female. Whomever, whatever you think, I will be fair for you. Again, I'm the first person. I came from the streets of Lafayette. I understand the culture back when it was and how it's evolving and changing. I can't say it enough. My mother, best woman I know, because she raised me to who I am today, are my parents. My wife, my kids, my aunts, my uncles, those are all women in the community. My grandmother in the community that helped me become the man I am today when my parents had to work. So I think women should be treated fair and equal. They should stand on this side and they should do the same job that the law should do. And I will be an advocate for anyone who want to become a city marshal, female, and want to come and work at the police department. I think they should. Thank you.
Lafayette Marshal's office has currently 5 females in the Lafayette Marshal's office. And like Mr. Thomas said, one of them has been promoted to the captain, which is the 3rd rank in the Marshal's office. I do believe in equality. I do believe that everyone should be paid what their positions are, not their color, not their gender. They all should be paid for who they are. Thank you.
Caught in the air.
I like to say I'm proven, and I'm proven because I've led an agency. I led an agency, the 4th largest police agency in the state of Louisiana. And doing that, what the most important thing is recruitment. You have to have the right recruiter to get the type of person that you as a leader want and to recruit. And when we talk about the Me Too movement, we also should be talking about transgender. We should not only be talking about, we should be inclusive with everybody. So it should be nobody, white, black, transgenders, females, or whatever. Everybody's welcome into law enforcement. If you can do the job, if you have the requirements or the qualifications, then I'm all for it. We have recruited many different people. And I'm not saying that this is what I would do. I'm saying what I have done in the past, what I am proving. I have ran an organization larger than the organizations that we're talking about running. And I have ran it to the point of everything from community policing to shootings to everything. So I believe in equality. I believe that in law enforcement, everybody can do the job if trained properly. And I can tell you this, I have worked with many, and I have led many. And in an agency the size of the Lafayette Police Department, not only officers, we're talking about civilians also. None of it really matters. You have to be qualified, you have to be trained, and you have to be a person that don't look at anything as far as can this person do the job, can this person not do the job. What you're looking at is the requirements and the qualifications of a person. And that's all that should count. Nothing else should count in working in law enforcement. And I will definitely bring that to the city marshal's office.
So yes, we lost a champion yesterday from the United States Supreme Court. A lady who broke through the forest. I mean, she was challenged with a lot of things. And today we're a better nation and a better people. I am most proud of the work my wife does as a small business owner. I am supportive of her. My two daughters are both very professionally employed and successful. And I definitely recognize the necessity to look at what we have, where we have been, and where this country should be. And so there's absolutely no question that each person should be properly paid based on the task that they're doing, regardless of their gender. There is no place left in America, and especially in public service, for discrimination of any sort. I too have employed a lot of employees at the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. I had 186 subordinates as the patrol commander. And so I was required for recruiting, hiring, maintaining, training, all of that for 186 employees. It was extremely important that we be diverse and that we be equal to all of our employees. It's critical in the delivery of service that you expect. So when you call for a police officer or when a deputy marshal comes to your house, they must be reflective of our entire community. And again, equality plays right into it. Thank you all very much.
Hard for me to keep track. All right, so yeah, again, experience back. I served as the Brigade, 256 Infantry Brigade Inspector General, which means that I went throughout that organization to find out who was following the rules, who wasn't following the rules, and made sure that the rules were in fact followed. I was also the Chief of Human Relations, Equal Opportunity for the Louisiana National Guard. The first organization was about 5,000 folks. The second organization is about 11,000 folks. And so, obviously, I know how to make sure that the organizations follow the rules. Clearly, a judge needs to follow the rules. I have been guided in the raising of my children by my lovely wife, she's a wonderful, talented person. We've raised 3 beautiful children who are very successful. My daughter's a lawyer. My son is an Air Force veteran, and my other son is serving as a financial advisor. We have to provide equal opportunity for all of our citizens. It's very important that if anybody follows the law, the judge follows the law. Thank you very much.
Are y'all getting answers? We'll reserve some time for you to ask the question that you have. So let's proceed. In addition to the Me Too movement, we're dealing now with Black Lives Matter. And we know that African American communities around this country have had strained relationship with our criminal justice system as well as our policing systems. And there's ongoing dialogue of how to resolve the problem. And one of you brought the issue of 21st century policing, which was a commission established by President Obama, led by former Attorney General Eric Holder. And those recommendations that came out had a lot to do with how to fix the problem of the substantial strain between the African American community and law enforcement, policing, and criminal justice. I'd like for you now to offer any reflections, particularly if you're elected, what initiatives might you be interested in, whether it's some of the recommendations involve creating an oversight board with subpoena power belonging to the people of the commission. There are all kinds of recommendations. So if you will, and I apologize for if you're not familiar with the document, 21st Century Policing document, you may go online to our audience, you may go online and review that document for future purposes. But if you have candidates, comments on what you can do to resolve the crisis, to stop the need for marching, and to address the issues involving the African American pride for equal justice. Who's next? Mr. Broussard, thank you. And the next question, I'm going to start with you first, Judge.
Ready to go, ready to go.
I do believe equality is a big issue. Everyone needs equality. We need it. Let me say, law enforcement shouldn't have any racism. Law enforcement, we're here to help you. It doesn't matter what color. It doesn't matter what gender. It doesn't matter what political party you're on. If you have a problem with that, you should not be a police officer. And this department doesn't need that. We need somebody that's caring, that's going to get out to the community. I do want to have a community forum where we have different people from different sides of all communities to get together, whether it's Hispanic, or it's Asian, or it's African American, have everyone. And we need to find out what the problems are. But the thing is, this office right here deals with city work. And we have a sheriff that y'all elected. We have a good mayor y'all elected. We have a good chief of police that's there. And they're handling the problem right now. And if they do need our help, we will be there for them. But we need the community to come together. We need the community to let us know what they want. And it starts with teaching your son, teaching your daughter, and like I said, I will have a ride-along program. I want to have something where we have something for our youth. We used to have like a cadet program to see what police officers and to see if there's any problems or any issues. So the police officers understand it, and the community understands. And that's what we need. We need some leaders that can show that and get out to the community, get out your vehicle, talk to the people. I think that's where the separation is. When a lady told me, said, hey, if you don't behave, I'm going to get that police officer to arrest you. We don't need that. We're there to help you, not there to hurt you.
I have attended many command level training in law enforcement, everything from FBI to IACP, which is the International Chief of Police. And during that time, one of the biggest studies was the 21st century policing, which I had brought up. There are 6 pillars, and everybody should know about this if you want to be a leader. You should be well studied in law enforcement, which I am. So one of the things is, in those 6 pillars, they look at community relations, and that's where I brought the community relations committee from. I thought about it and I said, you know what, we need to meet the leaders and we need to talk to the leaders and let them understand what's going on in law enforcement. So number one is communications. You have to communicate. You know, the issue that we had was that nobody spoke to the community for about 14 days or so. You have to talk to the community. You have to have those leaders. Trust. Trust is another pillar that they have. Trust meaning that you have to have trust. The community has to have trust in you. And how do they have trust in you? Because the way you communicate with the community, the things that you do for the community, Technology is another pillar that they have. You have to have technology, and social media is very, very important. And we talk about this a lot, and it's the wellness of police officers. That's another pillar that they talk about. You know, these are things that you should be well studied. You know, you want to be a leader of an agency. If you want to be a leader of an agency, you should be well studied, and you should understand what experts are telling you. That's why I talk about accreditation. We talk about policies in this particular document. And this is the only police reform that we really have on record right now. So we have to look at that, we have to study it. So I will tell you, it's all about the community. I am a community guy, I will continue to be a community guy, and I will take the city marshal into a totally different level because I understand law enforcement.
21st century policing reform is absolutely required. The problem is that we've never gotten any directives, any initiatives that have started locally with respect to that. Though Chief Thomas will say that we started community groups, it's all 6 pillars. It's not 1 or 2. So we really need to stand together, the community and law enforcement leaders across the state need to institute the 21st century policing. If we're going to take it, don't take it in a part, take the entire initiative and let's bring it forward. So we'll talk about the training, we'll talk about the trust, we'll talk about all of the pillars that are required to make sure that this community understands where we are as a policing agency, but more so that the police agency understands that that community is who we work for. And this is the people that we're out there to serve every day, every night. So that's all part of the entire big plan. Again, we will talk about some of the training issues specific to dealing with people with social issues, dealing with people with mental issues, dealing with people who are armed, and how do we effectively deal with them without putting the officer in harm's way or any other citizens in harm's way, but while respecting the rights of the person who's in crisis and making sure that we were called there to help all people, not just 1 or 2 people, but they are people as well, and they are required to have the same level of protection as we are. So certainly want to look forward to that, and I appreciate the question. Good point.
Each one of the candidates brought us some great points. Understand, Louisiana State Police was accredited in the current area, so I have to take those trainings and make sure it was sufficient in our training for those same issues. As far as policing, again, you have to be self-educated, you have to be self-taught, you have to be self-disciplined. And what I mean by that, you also have to bring that to the community. You have to come back to the community and say, okay, how can we help that? I can't handle every issue, but you know what? My name is Dr. So-and-so to come talk to my guys. We're going to have an after-action review on everything we do. Sit down and talk about it around here. Get professional doctors in, get professional people and say, hey, how can you do this? On the community side, we can't control mental health. However, we can try to understand about other professional sources that's around the city that can help us. That's an advocate for police and an advocate for reform that we all need in this city. I agree that we need to do a lot of different things in this world and a lot of things different, but we must use all of our resources. Police is one aspect of public service. We need to take every aspect of public service. We need to sit down with our judges and find out, hey, what's going on. We need to sit down with our attorneys and find out, hey, what's going on. We need to sit down with our doctors. And I tell you what, my oldest daughter is an emergency room doctor. I sit down and listen to how she handled trauma. We are in a trauma situation. We have it when the Vietnam vets came from Vietnam. They're trauma. They hear a loud noise go up, they're going back. Well, we have trauma. We have trauma in this world. Until we get the professionals that understand trauma, that are ready to educate us on this trauma and systemic problem that we're going in, and I agree we need it, then that's what we need to have going on in Lafayette. And I tell you what, once it happens in Lafayette, we're going to be the first in the nation to educate our police officers, to educate our citizens, to educate everyone that's involved in the process of this trauma and the systemic problem that we're going through in the world today. Thank you.
Very good. Hope you keep track. Okay, so there is only one law that applies to every person in our state, and judges are required to apply the law fairly to everyone who comes into the courtroom. There's been folks who have been in my courtroom who were law enforcement officers, who were parties to litigation. There were law enforcement in my offices in my courtroom who were witnesses, and I treat them with the same dignity and respect as everyone who comes into the courtroom. I evaluate your credibility. Just because you're a law enforcement officer doesn't mean you tell the truth all the time. Just because you're a Catholic priest doesn't mean you tell the truth all the time. It depends on, the judge has to have the capacity to evaluate the witness, determine who's telling the truth, who's not telling the truth, and find the law that applies, and apply that law fairly to each case. Now, I have to tell you, though, that I believe that every organization is perfectly constituted to produce the results that it is producing, okay? And you need to understand, and I'm sure most of you do because you're well informed, that what law enforcement agencies do, they do in your name. And so if you believe that the law enforcement agency is not doing what you want them to do, then of course you have the capacity to tell the city council, you have the capacity to tell the mayor, and they have the capacity to change the policies, right? The legislature, or in this case the city council, sets the policy and it acts by enacting a law, enacting the ordinances. The state legislature sets the policy by passing legislation. And you need to understand, well, I'm sure many of you do, but that a police officer has no greater authority to use force than any one of you in this room, right? You can use force to defend yourself or others. There's no special exception for police officers.
So if things don't get better, that is our economic situation, I suppose that we're going to see at some point greater use of the court system, particularly the city court, and the city marshal's office for evictions. We see, because of COVID-19 and the shutdown of the economy, many businesses are closed without stimulus and other activities of the government and other aid. Some people are bound to become homeless. So we see that the city court and the city marshal's office plays a very important part in this city with regards to that area of the law, evictions. I believe that the community is and should be concerned about how it is that we proceed when there are no longer moratoriums on evictions. But yet, if there is discretion within the office of the city marshal or the city judge's office, what can you offer the people, or any comments, suggestions, or just a roll forward on how we handle what appears evident to become a serious issue in our city? The area of eviction, sorry, Judge. Edward, and then we go to you.
Well, again, regrettably, the legislature sets the policy. Not regrettably, it is what it is. The legislature sets the policy, right? And the legislature has passed a law that says that if the facts are in place, that the result should be eviction, then the order is immediate. The judge is required to order the eviction to occur within 24 hours. So I think that what we can do as the city court judge is to simply, again, provide videos on the city court website that explains exactly what the law is, what the process is, what the procedure is, and I would encourage everyone to communicate with their local legislators, state legislators, federal
somebody being evicted, and it was some city marshal that was evicted. And we spoke about it, and one of the things was, of course, once the judge gives you an order to do it, of course the city marshals have to do that. But I told her a story about when I was in patrol, where we was evicting, where the city marshal was evicting somebody, and we had to pick up money to at least house them for at least one day at a hotel, because it was kids involved. When there's kids involved, you know, it's a very limited thing that you can do. And I started speaking to her about it, and one of the things I talked about earlier is that I do write grants. So I did look at several different things that we possibly can do, especially with grant writing, and especially caring and having a heart for people. I would like to do some type of program where if somebody with kids or somebody in a bad decision gets put out, maybe we can work with the hotels or somebody like that to help some people. We cannot allow our community, the people, to be on the street. It hurts my heart every day when we pass by. We have homeless people all over the place now, and it's because the hotels are not doing the vouchers anymore. So you see a lot more homeless people. I want to work a program through the city marshal's office, through the city police, and through housing a hub to start writing a grant and to get those dollars in. I have friends all throughout the city, being in this city for 30 years and being in a leadership position and actually handling leadership, knowing everybody in HUD and knowing everybody at LCG. This will be one of the #1 things on my list, simply because my wife told me it should be. So this will be one of the #1 things on my list with evicting, especially when it comes to trying to evict kids, you know, and the law enforcement agency has to do what the judge tells us to do, and we will do that. But we can look at other ways to help families and to help this community, and that's what I'm about, and that's what my heart is about, helping this community.
I too respect what Chief Thomas said. If we get an eviction order, there is no question we are now required to go carry out our duty. But I share an experience, a personal experience also with you. Yesterday, I went to visit my daughter and my 2 grandchildren at their home, and they've adopted a dog. They found a dog roaming. They brought it to the animal shelter, checked for a chip. It did not have one. So they're currently holding the puppy, and they're sending out messages through their neighborhood apps and in the area to let people know that if someone lost a puppy, they can come get it. And that brings to mind the situations we're seeing in Lafayette today. And certainly, I too have a heart for people who have fallen on bad times. And I'm not talking about professional homeless people. I'm not talking about people that stand there, collect money at an intersection and then go home and sleep well at night. But I'm talking about the people that have lost everything that they have. And so we would certainly have to work together in all of our community resources, all of our nonprofits, all of the areas that we would exhaust every measure possible to get resources for these people who are being put out under those circumstances. And like Chief Thomas said, especially those with children or handicaps or mental issues that otherwise cannot fit for themselves, if we just put them on the street and let them try to figure something out, it won't end well, folks. I mean, we know that already. So certainly I would work with all of our nonprofits, try to establish some type of fund that we could call on a very short notice, so that once we got there and we saw the circumstances were such that a person didn't have the resources to provide for their children or for those less fortunate, that we would have them available. Thank you.
The judge was correct. Once he gives that order, then the office, more stars will have to follow the directive, and we will follow the directive. But it's not just following the directive, it's how we follow the directive. And every one of us had a story to tell. Well, I'll tell you a story about myself. I'm a small business owner, and we had a recent hurricane. People moved from Lake Charles into the Lafayette area. And yes, I could have continued with the high prices of what it is to stay in my location. However, I gave a a break because it would kill. I gave a discount on the price because it would kill, because they were going through a dramatic situation. Same thing with our residents. I would not just try to find these nonprofit organizations to help people. I would go to the business owner and ask him, is there any way possible, if the judge would say so, you can reduce their rent for this 1 month, or for whatever it is you're looking for, if they are attending. If they usually paying their bills and usually doing the right thing, but failing the whole time. So again, it takes the entire community. It takes business owners to say, okay, he ain't got to kick him out. Well, what you gonna have? You're gonna have zero the next month. So what can we do to help you get sustained or get some of your money if you can? If you cannot, then I have to follow the judge out. But I'm about bringing the community together, again, the nonprofit, to see how we help these kids get staying at home and their parents when they feel them all the time. That's what we're talking about, bridging the gap with the community. Bridging us all together to make sure we stand together united as one for the greater Lafayette. That's what it's all about. Thank you for your time.
Compassion, sure. Each one of these candidates, we all have compassion. That's what makes a good police officer. I've done many evictions. I don't know if I'm the only one that's done an actual eviction on this platform right here. You don't want to see anybody kicked out their house, but as a judge order, you have to do what you have to do sometimes. And you have to follow the law. And they have notices. They have a 5-day notice before they can file an eviction. And once the judge orders, you have 24 hours unless the landlord will give some kind of exception. And we've asked landlords to help out. We've had to have people, I know people all around the businesses, and that's where the community has to come together. You know, if you have something that can help out with the marshal's office, you're more than happy to take in a family. We've had people with pets, and even though we found a place, we have to find some place for their pets. You know, and taking away somebody's pets, especially their kids, it's hard. It's hard as an officer. And you have to have compassion, but we also have to follow the law. And that's where the community needs to come in. And that's what we ask y'all to help out. Thank you.
We're approaching the hour and a half mark, and so I think we have one more question that I may ask on to the city marshal candidates. Well, you know what? I'll share it with you also good. And that involves, throughout the summer I've been participating in marches and Black Lives Matter chants, and they said, what's her name? This is Breonna Taylor. There's a thing called a no-knock warrant, and I'm not sure what is the practice here in Lafayette. But as candidates to run our city marshal's office, perhaps you can provide some information. For the audience, those who may not know, this young lady was the subject of a police shooting where she was shot dead in her bed while the police entered with permission, with a warrant that allowed them to enter the residence without knocking. So that it's been all over the news, the national press. There are many issues that we can talk about, specific police tactics, etc., that we can talk about. But just to give our listening audience and your potential voters an idea of what you're thinking and how you feel about certain issues. Do you have any reflections on the application of the no-knock warrant for the city judge candidate, the issuance of those such warrants, and for our city marshal candidates, the execution of such warrants? And I say, who's not? I think where you. And after that, we'll return and allow you the audience to ask questions.
So yeah, no-knock search warrants is a procedural thing in the state of Louisiana that can be applied for. It's specific. You have to indicate that that is the type of warrant that you want under the circumstances. It typically requires you an extra level of proof to show the judge why you need a no-knock warrant for this specific incident. I cannot imagine, under the circumstances that we are tasked with picking up people with misdemeanor and traffic offenses, that the city marshal's office would ever have to apply for a no-knock warrant of any circumstance. It just doesn't fit the criteria of the offenses that we deal with in city court. However, I do think that, again, procedurally, if an officer is required to do that, I would think that the threshold would be very high to convince a judge that those things are necessary. Either the person has proven to be armed heavily or has a history of violence towards the officers, so that if you were to knock and announce your presence, that would have some adverse effect on the safety of the officers executing that warrant. But again, from a procedural perspective, I can't imagine the circumstances where the city marshal's office would be required to do anything like what we saw happen in the Miss Taylor, the very most unfortunate incident with Miss Taylor. Thank you.
I served a couple of warrants back in my day, and like Chief Judy said, it's not like something that the marshal would have out there. It's unfortunate what was being today what happened, and unfortunately, a lot of situations. The thing is, the research before you do those warrants, the training that you make sure the officers are going to. Identifying exactly who you're dealing with. And if you're going in there for a warrant, you have predetermined information of what's going on in the house. You should have enough information that there's a gun carrying house. You should have enough information of the person named in the house. You should have enough information of who you're going for. No knock warrant means you can told the judge that you know everything about this person that needs to be known. Again, the marshal's office will not likely be handling those types of warrants. It comes back again on our training, when someone applies for a warrant. And what we specifically need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to that judge, that person doing a no-knock warrant is harmful for himself, harmful to the police officer, harmful to the citizen here in So again, information is key. We have to have all the information necessary that we need to complete our job successfully, safely for the people. And with God's grace, we have to continue to search for that education. Thank you.
20 years served in the marshal's office. Last 15 years at the marshal's office, I was in the warrant division. We have never had a no-knock warrant, but we do serve warrants. I was the first one through the door, and it's dangerous. You don't know what's behind that door. With cameras nowadays, and there are many times we went into warrants where there's knives, guns, sometimes 10, 20 guns all around the house, and you have no idea what you're going through when you walk through that door. You don't know if you're coming home the next morning. And I tell you what, it takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of intelligence. We ask people, we find out who they are, we find out everything we can about that person, but that doesn't tell us that this guy might not shoot at us or stab at us or anything else. So we've never done a no-knock warrant. It does take training. And it's not just misdemeanor summons. It's not just misdemeanor warrants like most people think. There's plenty of times we backed up the sheriff's department. There's plenty of times we backed up the state police. And there's been plenty of times we backed up Lafayette City Police. Marshal's office, we help out the U.S. Marshals, the federal marshals a lot. Because there's only 4 or 5 guys, and they're always asking for help. Because to go in the building, you need 4 or 5 people to be able to search a whole house, search underneath the beds, in the closet, in a dryer, in an icebox. I mean, there's people hiding underneath the box spring mattress, and you don't know what they have. And you have a split-second decision on what to do. But the best weapon a police officer can have is right here. I've cleared more warrants right here than my duty belt or any other weapon that I've had. You talk to people. You tell them to come in and take care of their business. You know, I tell people, I don't care if you're guilty, I don't care if you're innocent. My job is to make sure you have your fair day in court. And that's what I bring to the table.
I think everybody understands that with the city marshals, we will not be doing a no-knock warrant. I can tell you that. Under my command, we will never do a no-knock warrant. But we do assist the city police, and we do assist others. Being a leader at the city police department, I have about 24 officers in a narcotics unit. When we do a no-knock warrant, we have a list that we have to go through to make sure that everything is covered. I even want pictures of the location that we will be hitting. And all that comes to me, and we look at it and we make that decision. Many, many times, I had to make that decision as the leader of the agency. I had to look and I had to make those type of decisions. I make those type of decisions from my experience, from being on the narcotics team, my experience from understanding what probable cause and what we need to have those type of warrants. I would have my guys, even after the judge was signed, we have to sit down and we have to look at it, because not only are we worried about when we do the no-knock warrant, we're worried about also the community, the people that's near them. We're looking at the neighbors. It could be a townhouse or something like that. So, number one, you have to be prepared and you have to have everything under control as far as everything from pictures, information, and everything that you need. We understand that it is as serious as it gets when you apply for a no-knock warrant. And a lot of times it's because you want a no-knock warrant because you believe the person has weapons. But I can assure you, as a city marshal, you will never be challenged or never given an order to do a no-knock warrant because you're dealing with only misdemeanors. And that's very important. In my line of work in the past 30 years, we were dealing with major felonies, and I was making the call as the leader of that agency.
I think that you have hit on a specific issue here. I agree with all of these gentlemen there. I can't imagine a situation where the city marshal would be making an application for a no-knock warrant. However, the reality is that there are 2 vendors of the electronic warrants system, and each of those vendors have as the default setting no-knock warrants, right? And so for several years, many years now, I refused to sign those warrants as they come in because in many instances, the officer in the affidavit has not particularized information that would cause me to conclude that the target is presents such a risk to the life of a law enforcement officer that they need to, in fact, have this authority to enter someone's home without knocking. Because it's obvious that often, many times the law enforcement officer has the wrong location. They're going to they're seeking the wrong person, right? They believe they have the right person, they believe they have the right location, but the reality is the wrong one. And things can go sideways very quickly. And so it's very important that the judges carefully scrutinize all warrant applications. And so when I get those kinds of electronic warrants, I have to review the affidavit, see what the facts are stated there, and then I have to also take the extra time when I believe that a no-knock warrant is not authorized, it should not be authorized, that I then have to download and for self and others. And we need to make sure that they use those tools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Now, I will ask, are there any questions from the audience? Please rise to your feet, sir, and speak as loud as you can. You don't have a mic for you to speak to.
All right. Good morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. How y'all doing? My name is Kenneth Francis, and God sent me here because I have a testimony. I got a question for every one of y'all right here. Gentlemen, y'all say it's like 127 years experience total, correct? What's the policy you just said, brother? It takes a lot of training for troopers, cops, or sheriff, whatever. What's the protocol when a trooper, a cop, or whatever comes on the scene? A man is laying on the ground with his leg in an L shape because his ball socket broke and hip shattered. Tear the fifth came across his knee. Got hit head on by a drunk driver I've been on since 7th grade. He was like, well, I said brother to me because we played sports together, but he been a drunk since high school. February 12, 2006, I get the head on collision. Take your oath serious, all y'all men say, true, and all this. Well, this happened to me, and the trooper wrote it up, monitor monitor. The trooper went to see the man. The trooper went to see the man, and the man said these words. I thought I was on the frontage road. I entered US 90 East from LA 616, that means camp up the off-ramp. Hit me head on. I had 3 neck surgeries, 2010, 11, and 12. I'm fused from my C3 to T3 now. I got 13 teeth over the years. Some got knocked out of my mouth, and some over the years just fell out of my mouth because my mind was so messed up. I had PTSD. It took me 2 years to learn how to walk.
I apologize.
I know the time limit, but I'm here to check chestnut right now. God put these men and women in position to help. They said they would listen. They said they would do the right thing. This trooper took his oath not serious.
Give me a question.
I'm not trying to be rude. All I want to know is who wants to take my place because the year has passed. That's what the system says. Who wants to take my place? This is my beautiful wife that elbows every night, forearm, knuckles, pressing on them, spasms in my neck because I have no physical therapy to go to. I have no prescriptions because they told me there's nothing they can give me now because I just got so much injuries.
My brother.
I appreciate y'all. I'm not going to take up no time. God's in control for every and all of it. The question is this. Who really, truly, with all your experience, going to tell me 1 year passed, and y'all say y'all believe in God, but it's not fair for me to get my justice. This is what happened to me that was written up monitor moderate. My right knee, though, so let me stand up there, my right knee now turns to the right, I understand 14 years and 7 months later, I get a chance to say something, and y'all gonna put a time limit on me. God told me to tell y'all, wake up, people. You understand what I'm saying? I had a $26 hour job. I worked at all 3 salt mines. I worked at the 3 most dangerous jobs. The most dangerous job was being a shaft driver, a 5x8 skip, 1,100 feet in the air, hooked to a safety belt that when it came off, I fell 1,100 feet down. The man hits me head on, and all I get out of this is, I'm sorry. A year has passed.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
I apologize.
I apologize too, but God told me to tell y'all straight up.
I understand, but
with all the love y'all give to y'all troopers, you know what this guy told me in internal affairs? The guy was retired since 18. Me and my wife went to internal affairs. They look at the pictures. They look at the pictures of the Bible and my pictures. And they said these words right here. They said these words right here. They say these words right here. We're going to put him in for the investigation. They called me 3 weeks later and said these words. We can't because he's retired. That was 18. 2020, God put in my spirit to call troop out here in internal affairs. You know what they told me? Sir. He's retired. I got moved in my spirit to go to troop out headquarters and talk to the man and ask him why he let this go happen to me. And he didn't even ask the man. requested toxicology report, people. He went to see him in the hospital, got his statement. He admitted he came up to offer him, but yet he didn't ask for a toxicology report. I gotta go through this right here, y'all. Let me tell you why. 14 years and 7 months later, all you gonna do is put me out here. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm a father.
But listen to me, sir.
I got 3 kids.
These people came here for a reason.
These people came here to match y'all something.
And they want to learn.
How many people in here right now? If God gave you another chance after 115 mile an hour head-on collision, and then evidence came to you to help yourself, people clearly being wrong. They want the titles, but they don't want to do the job that they put in their mouth to say, hire me for. I didn't say none of you men up here. I am saying this trooper did not take his oath serious. When I asked the man, if the trooper was to get head on like I did, even though he's retired, would y'all help him? They said yes. I said why? Because he's our brother for life. I said, well, God told me to tell you, I might not be a trooper, but I'm his son and you his son. All y'all his sons and daughters. Therefore, if I was here today, people, I would have done clearly wrong.
Sir, if you'd like to put your...
I am not hurting anybody right now. All I'm saying is, y'all forgive me, because if this was, who wants to take my place right now?
Right here.
Who would stand and take my place right now?
Take your place, sir.
I'm talking about hurting.
No, I'm saying if you want to come to the table, we'll put your information, and anyone who wants to chat with you.
I'm not sorry, gentlemen. I'm your brother.
And let's put it in.
I could have been your son. It could have been you. I sang in church that morning, people.
Sir, can we put
I was covered that whole day.
We'll put you at the table.
So, audience, thank you, brother. Thank
You, brother, God put you in position. He put you in position, not a title. Take your position and just listen to me, because I promise you, if you was me, you would want to hear.
We have heard you.
None of this.
And listen to me. We empathize with you. We feel sorry because this is why we're asking these questions about injustice.
This is why we're important, like you said. We want to listen to our community.
Thank you.
I'm humble, y'all.
Yes, sir.
But I'm tired. Everybody telling me,
Sir, I'm going to ask
here
you.
it is. Do I look stupid to you? Do I look crazy? I'm humble. God bless me, Kenneth Francis, 14 years, 7 months extra to be here, people.
Mr. Francis, thank you, sir. I know that there will be other forums for us to get you to help you get that word out and your story. But thank you for sharing what you have to share.
Oh, I'm telling you.
But I apologize for the shortness of time. We only have 2 hours. We only have a few minutes left.
Mr. Kenneth, you can have the table, Mr. Kenneth.
All right.
Y'all don't know
Thank you.
Mr. Kenneth, the table, sir, please.
how it feels
Please allow others to
to hurt every day.
I want to go ahead and give, if anyone has any questions on point with regards to the election and the choice that you have to make in electing one of these fine gentlemen as your new city marshal and for the position of our new city judge. Is there a question? Let's go with Mr. Wallace and then you next, sir. And let's make it either a question or a comment, and let's consider the time that we have left.
Question. My name is Wallace Senegal, concerned community activist. I'm looking for what they call accreditation. Where is the marshal office on accreditation, and if they don't have the accreditation, what would be done for the accreditation? And whoever wants to answer, they can.
So let me first say that I believe it was stated earlier that the marshal office was not accredited, and everybody knew that. And, of course, I get to have, and now go ahead and respond. 1 minute.
Under Marshall Lee P. Ford, I worked under him. We were accredited for approximately 4 to 5 years. When Marshall Coe took over, we did not continue that accreditation. I do believe we should bring back the accreditation, because what it did is show, who the officers were, who they were stopping, whatever race, whatever gender, everything is shown to the public. And everybody had a right to these files for accreditation. We do need to put that in place. Everybody needs to be accountable. All the marshal's office, all the police departments need to be accountable for what they do. And I do believe it should be implemented back again. And if I'm in your next marshal, I will have it back in. Thank you.
Can I answer that?
If we can keep it short.
Yeah.
We're gonna shut down in 13 minutes. I do want to.
No, just right. That's like number one on my platform, so I just wanted to put something in. Accreditation is a written directive. Again, the Lafayette Police Department is accredited, and they're accredited because of me. It was 2 times that I went in front of the accreditation board. It's standards that you have to meet. It's 460 standards. You have to meet 80% of those standards. These standards are standards that are from law enforcement experts that put your agency to a certain level, and that's the level that I want to see the city marshal's office. And I think it's a must, and it's one of the first things that I will get accomplished.
Absolutely, 100%. I think it's a priority that we have at a CALEA state accreditation. As an employee of the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office, I did work to accreditation. I did make sure that we had the standards of patrol commander. We had many standards that we had to meet and document and show inspectors every 2 years what it was we were doing that was in compliance with the standards set by accreditation. So yes, priority accreditation recognition is extremely important to the marshal's office, and it does help us to be more accountable to the people. Thank you.
I'll be very, very brief. Accreditation is accountability. I will be accountable. Accountable for the officers that do what they're supposed to do, because we have credible standards to follow. Accreditation is accountable. Hold me accountable because we will.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to do one more question, and then we'll go to our closing comment. Sorry, because of the time constraint. We have another session, the second session coming up.
My name is Terry Hughes. Thank y'all for offering y'all service to us. Quick question. The previous marshal office officials have actually used fees to subsidize their salaries. You know, what can y'all do to assure the public that y'all will not do what the previous marshals have done? You know, and with my understanding, state law, it is unlawful now.
Let's start with Mr. Tron.
I want everybody to know that this office is not a retirement plan for me. I've been treated this. I'm not going to take any fees that's not going to be coming to me. Those fees will be used in a different manner, such as, like I just said, helping these community people who have been evicted. If we can turn those fees by whatever order we can get through the legislation to help those fees that we earn from delivering subpoenas, put them in the fund to help people who are homeless, that are really trying to do some right thing, I'm talking about being eviction, that will help serve the marshal's office. Again, being accountable to the people. We take those funds from the people for serving subpoenas. So why don't we put them back into the system to help the people when they're being evicted? Thank you.
So we have Attorney General guidance with regards to the use of the funds, the marshal's funds, and you cannot supplement a marshal's salary. I think that was at the very core of some issues that came up with the previous marshal. I am committed 100% to you that we would not, under my administration, use those fees for anything outside of that being allowed by the law for the use of those funds. Now, to make you aware of it, I already spoke about the open checkbook, online accountability. The entire fund would be available to you by the clerk. You wouldn't have to make a public record request to see where our funds went. You can go see it anytime. Thank you very much for the question.
by law, we cannot do anything with those fees as far as with the city marshal or paying the city marshal. Those fees can be used for training, equipment, and other things like that through the city marshal's office. I will use those fees along with grant writing fees, along with any other type of fees to get training, to do things with the community, and to work with the city marshal's office to make it one of the best city marshal's offices in the nation.
I was at the Attorney General's office for the last 3 years. This did come up about Marshall Polk using the fees. These fees are by law to be used for training and nothing else. When I'm in the department, I will make sure every year the department is edited and make sure accountable for any and all fees. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, Commissioner. I want to thank all of our panel for doing an excellent job of responding to the questions, sharing and opening your hearts to our people. We want to conclude our first session this morning by allowing a 1-minute closing comment by each of the participants. We will start off with Judge Edwards, and then we'll go then with Mr. Thomas, and then Mr. Judy's, Mr. Broussard.
Thank you again for this opportunity. I am Judge Jewel Edwards, number 88 on the ballot. I want the opportunity to put my experience and qualifications to work for you. I believe if you do the comparison, you will conclude that I am clearly the most qualified person to serve in the city court judge position. And you will come to the conclusion that on day one, I am ready to fairly and impartially resolve the disputes that come to us. I have a record of integrity. I have a record of effectiveness. I want to put those experiences to work for you, and with your help, your support, your prayer, you can all make that happen. Please vote for me for 88.
For the last 30 years, I have put on the uniform to work as a Lafayette City police officer. The city police work side by side with the city marshal's office. Through those 30 years, the last 4 years, I have been the lead person at the police department. And I have done community things and all types of things. I would like you to look at my qualifications. Look at the things that I have done in this city, nowhere else, and not in other areas or whatever. I am a part of the community. I work in the community, and I will continue to work in this community. I already started programs. I already have relationships with all of the community leaders, and that is huge at this particular time. And I know how to communicate with all of the leaders that we have in this area. I have been doing it for the last 30 years, and I will continue to do it as the city marshal. I ask for your support. I ask for your vote, number 93. And what I do ask is that you definitely compare all qualifications with the city marshal's office, and you will see that I will be the one that you should, or that I ask that you vote for. Thank you.
All right, so first of all, again, to the women of wisdom, thank you. Mr. Milton, you did a wonderful job of moderating this event. I am Kip Judy's. I am number 91 on the ballot, the only one in the city marshal's office race that can provide the best level of management to that office from day one. I have done all of the things that are required of deputy marshals. I have, as a sheriff's deputy, I have done evictions, I have served civil paper, I have served criminal process, I have done arrest warrants, I've done all the things that are required to operate the marshal's office. I've also managed over 180 employees at one time as the head of the department. I am currently the police chief. I am the only candidate who is a certified police executive today in the state of Louisiana. So I think, again, my qualifications are there. Please check me out, kipformarshall.com. I would certainly ask for and appreciate your voting support. Thanks for your time as well coming out today. Thank you.
Thank y'all for letting me speak here today. This is my first forum that I didn't speak at. Like I said, I'm honored to be around these guys. Like I said, we have over 130 years of experience. Please give them a big round of applause for the sacrifice that they made for our community. I'm the only candidate here with 20 years at the marshal's office. I did everything from the bottom and worked my way up. I'm the only field training officer at the marshal. I know every position. I know how to make this a better marshal's office. I know how to give it back to the community and to do the right thing. I'm the only one candidate up here with 3 years at the Attorney General's office. I'm also the only candidate here with 6 years as the Chief of Governmental Affairs. I understand politics, I understand the marshal's office, and I understand the community. And the community needs a marshal that's going to be for them. My name is Nathan Broussard, and I ask you for your vote. I'm number 9 on the ballot, and I want to be your Lafayette City Marshal. Thank you.
I'm John Trahan Jr. God has so graced me with the knowledge and experience that's in his head. I am ready to take this to another level and give what's in my head, what's in my heart, what God has again so graciously given me to help the community of Lafayette. This is not a retirement plan for me. This is again doing the right thing for the right reason at the right time to make Lafayette a better place. This is what it's all about, okay? They are the great candidates. And like when they say, who else deserves a round of applause? But this is about not just the candidate. This is about us. This is about you, each and every one of you. This is about your kids that may come through the court system on a misdemeanor traffic offense for driving, because I have a 15-year-old driver. Making sure that he has a voice when he comes there. Making sure that court is not seen as a negative. It's a way of help to get him out of a situation where he can be a positive citizen in our life. Thank you, John Trahan from Washington.
I'd like to thank all the candidates for participating in the forum, and I'd like to thank our moderator, John Milton. On behalf of the Women of Wisdom, I'd like to thank you for attending our forum. I hope you are better informed. Would the members of WOW please stand so you can be recognized? Just to remind you, voter registration is going on. We have them at several locations every weekend. For October 5th, early voting begins October 20th, and the election date is November 3rd. And we'd also like to thank AOC and voting for videoing this forum. Thank you all very much. Have a good day.
October 16th.